Okay, hi, it's Michael here from Custom Bike Fit, and I've been meaning to do a video on the Canyon Speedmax for some time. And the thing that prompted me today is that I had a gentleman come in this week with a Speedmax CF SLX. It's this bike, the black and white one on the left here. And there's issues with this bike. And luckily, this gentleman spoke to me back in February when he was placing the order for the bike, and we had a discussion about some of the things that I had recommended, or I recommended that he change, and he listened to me on all of those things. And I've got some video footage of the bike where I can show things in a little bit more detail. But I wanted to put these two bikes side by side because generally when you're buying a, let's go for example with Cervelo, they had their P2, P3, P5, and you bought a 54 centimeter. It didn't matter if you got a P2, P3, P5, they were all the same geometry. Frame, stack and reach was exactly the same. And I have a Quintana Roo, and I'm on a 52 centimeter PR6, and the other frame they do is a PR5. And again, the geometries, the frame, stack and reach are exactly the same. Well, with the Canyon, that's not the case. I've always, if people have come to me and said, I'd like to buy a Canyon, I've always tried to steer them into the model down, the CF SL, over the CF SLX, simply because it's a different geometry and it's way more adjustable, and I'll tell you why. So the thing that really is my major bugbear with the CF SLX is the height of the base bar. Have a look here. I mean, this picture explains it pretty well. Look how low the base bar is compared to here. Now, I'll give you some numbers. The Speedmax, this gentleman that came in today is on a medium. All right. So the frame stack on a medium CF SLX is 498 millimeters. And because of the makeup of the bike, the handlebars, the base bar, sits directly on top of the frame stack. So that's really, really low. To give you an example, if we went to, like, if I was looking at a medium in a Quintana Roo, let's say a 54 centimeter Quintana Roo, the frame stack is 540 millimeters. So you're 40 millimeters higher straight away with the base bar. If we move over to here to the CF SL, again a medium, the frame stack is 533 millimeters. It's more like that QR 54 centimeter Quintana Roo. So these are extremely low. Now, you might think, well, it doesn't matter, because we ride a time trial bike in the time trial position. We're going to be on these pads here. And yes, that's true. And that's in an ideal world. But if you're riding outside and you're riding in traffic, I guarantee you're going to be spending time on the base bar. And this is where I see a lot of problems. People's hands are really, really low, a lot of weight going through there when they're on the base bar. And that's problematic. The other thing is, even in the pad stack, these things don't come up anywhere near as high as they do over here on this CF model, because this is a profile design front end, and you can have spacer kits till the cows come home. You get a lot higher at the front on this bike. You start off from a place that's higher anyway, because the base bar is sitting higher. But you have more spacer options here, more spacer kit, and the pads are better. I don't want to go too much into the comparison of the bikes, but I do prefer this bike over here. My 52 centimeter QR PR5, and I've got profile design area ultimate bars. I can go 75 mil higher with my pad stack than you can with this particular Canyon here, the CF SLX. Now, I did actually catch this particular athlete. I spoke with him back in February, and he'd placed the order for the Canyon. And fortunately, there was a delay. So he got to make some changes before they built and shipped the bike. And this handlebar here, they have three options. They always, in their marketing literature, always have the flat base bar. But you can also get one which drops down, brings the hands even lower. Really bad idea. Or you can have one that tilts up and brings the hands higher. And I said, you must get this base bar that brings your hands up, because it's going to be too low, right? I've worked with this guy before. I knew what his saddle height was going to be approx. And this is going to be a massive drop. It's still a fair drop, even with the base bar that's turned up, but we've done a better job. The other thing that can have as an option with this bike is a 9-degree wedge. Now 9 degrees isn't an awful lot. It changes the angle of the extension slightly, but it also changes the angle of the pad, and I like to have the pad at an angle. I think from the athlete's perspective, it locks you into a better position. I don't like these extensions. I prefer this type of thing. And we can tilt these, but another story, because everything in here is locked. We ended up changing these extensions and putting in ride sync extensions to bring the rider's hands up higher and reduce his funnel surface area. Anyway, I just wanted to get this video out because the height of this base bar is a real gotcha, right? And even, I think you also need to consider pad stack. You can't get that high with the Canyon. And if you're a seasoned athlete and you're flexible and you're strong, you can get into that position all well and good. But if you're not, it becomes an issue. And then you've really got to get something third party made to raise these bars. And we're fortunate on the Sunshine Coast. There's a gentleman, his name's Ashley, and his business is High Gear Racing. And if ever I encounter a problem like this where, we've run out of spaces, we've run out of stack, and I need something to lift this front end, I go to Ashley, High Gear Racing, and he builds things. He's built wedges for me and all sorts of solutions. But, this is an expensive bike. People like it because the cables are hidden. We've got cables over here on the right-hand side with this CF. You can see brake cables. And people are worried about all the aerodynamic drag. You might save 2 watts by hiding those cables, but if you can't stay in that aero position because the pads are too low or the base bar's too low or a combination of the two, your body creates an awful lot more drag anyway. So again, major issue, height of the base bar. If you're going to order one of these bikes, if you're absolutely set on it, make sure you get the bike with the base bar turned up, unless you're, I think without exception, get the bike or the base bar option where it's turned up. And if you're in any doubt about what's going to suit you, people like me, I'm not just a bike fitter, I'm a consultant, and I work with a lot of people here on the Sunshine Coast and around the world and help them to make the right decision in their purchase. What is the right bike for me? Not just what's the right fit, but what's fit for purpose, What sort of typically the sort of questions I ask, okay, what sort of events are you doing? Okay, you're doing triathlon, you're doing long course, you're doing short course. What are your nutritional needs? How many bottles do you need to carry on the bike? Where are we going to put all that stuff? Okay. Are you going to be traveling with the bike? What's your mechanical expertise like or experience? Are you comfortable breaking down the front of the bike? Or are you going to just drop this into a Cycon bag, for example? Because then there's a chance that things get broken. It's a lot easier in this scenario over here on the right, where we can just undo 4 bolts and bring the bars off. Whereas here we're kind of locked in. And, replacement parts, how adverse are you to risk is one of the questions I'll ask. What if you get to an event, let's say you're traveling overseas, typically people arrive maybe 3-4 days early, and you find that there's damage to the front end of your bike. Can you go back to Canyon? Are you going to get a new set of handlebars within that time frame and fitted? And how much are they going to cost? Something like over here on the front end brakes, and again, it's a lot easier to pack this bike away. But if anything does break, I can walk down to the Ironman Expo. Hey guys, who's selling profile design? And 2 or 3 hands will probably go up. I can find a base bar, I can find an armrest, I can find an extension or a set of extensions. And these things are easy to replace because it's a piece of a whole rather than the whole. Less cost, a lot of cost. Easy to source, very hard to source at within a short time frame. Anyway, I'll go and add this other piece of video in, and I'll catch you later. Okay, so if we look at the front end of this Speedmax, what we've done prior to purchase is we've made sure that we've ordered the base bar that has a lift on it. okay, to bring the hands up higher. This is a medium Canyon Speedmax CF SLX. It has a lower frame stack than a 52 centimetre. In fact, it has a lower frame stack than a 50 centimetre QR, PR5 or PR6. They're really, really low at the front. Now, that becomes an issue when you're riding on the base bar. And if you're riding in traffic, you're going to be on the base bar. You're going to have your hands here and they're going to be extremely low. That puts a lot of weight through your hands and through your neck and shoulders. So it's just something to be aware of with this bike. The other thing is, with all of these bikes with an integrated front end, you can't change the length of the front. Okay, you can't change the stem. You are locked in. And unfortunately, with this bike, there's not an awful lot of movement in the pad. There's some, but it's not a huge amount. And another thing that I'm not a fan of with the Canyon is the extensions that it comes with. We've actually changed these. We've used the Sync Ergonomics extensions. And again, when we ordered this bike, we got the 9 degree wedge to give us that additional lift. Okay. So just some things to really be aware of. A lot of people just, I want the Canyon, I love the bike, I like the look of the bike. And of course, it's one Kona, or the athletes riding this bike have one Kona, the males, the last few years. So there's a lot of attraction there, but just you need to be aware of some of those limitations or gotchas before you place an order.